Hey everyone, I'm back, and if you're watching this, it's lovely to see you again. I just kinda needed to step back from making videos after my best list of 2024 bombed spectacularly, left me feeling really down honestly. So I've been doing a lot of the second part of my YouTuber name over the last few months to cheer myself up and ride out the seasonal depression. I just want to cover the remaining albums I listened to in 2024 quickly, and then move on to what I've been listening to over the past quarter or so in 2025. If you watched that long 2024 best list of mine, thank you so much. It was a 2-month labour of love, and I really appreciate it. Let's get started. Going forward, these are going to be much more quick-fire, rapid thoughts and feelings. From Kendrick Lamar, GNX. Coming to you first with the coldest take of all time, GNX is a great album. Pretty redundant as a take, but glad I can finally get it to a video. It's arguably Kendrick Lamar at his most accessible, free from any overarching theme or narrative, that might make something like To Pimp a Butterfly have more of a lasting cultural impact and classic recognition over time, but GNX shows Kendrick step out of the shadows as someone who I saw as more of a reluctant superstar of the genre, to genuinely enjoying the stardom that it's brought him. For everything you can say about the year of the rap beef just gone, Kendrick sounded like he enjoyed every lyrical punch thrown in Drake's direction, and this is what came afterwards, a victory lap. It's part reflective, packed to the brim with the bangers if you want them, and the quotable lines to leave you thinking long after it's over. It never was the big three. It's just Kendrick and everyone else. From Linkin Park, From Zero. Everyone and their mothers has an opinion on Linkin Park's decision to hire a replacement vocalist with the impossible task of replacing Chester Bennington, and his presence no longer with us leaves the band with a void that it can never fill. To try my best to keep the conversation on the music, I think Emily does a great job here with what she's given and can scream powerfully with the best of them. And what you're given is a band trying to make a throwback of sorts to the very early projects of theirs. If you are hoping for more experimentation, this absolutely won't give you that. We're very much in our nostalgia for Hybrid Theory and Meteora era, which to me, it was good for a few songs here and there, but not a whole lot else. It wasn't bad, I'm just left feeling uncomfortable as to where I am with this band and wanting nothing to do with the almighty discourse that it brings. From Willi Carlisle, Critterland. The third album from Willi Carlisle continues his penchant for dry humour and heartache in equal measure, with the traditional country folk angle, Americana, and also leanings into bluegrass, as he wrestles his grief over his father's passing and trying to find the silver linings wherever he can. It's immaculately and lovingly produced to its traditions that stand out whenever it needs to, and then nestles into the background to let Carlisle truly take centre stage. And what an incredible presence he is, able to do what all great folk-leaning acts do, make you smile one minute and reduce you to tears the next. It is uncompromising, bold, brave, and it'll break your goddamn heart. An incredible record. From Laura Marling, Patterns in Repeat. Laura Marling has always had a unique and beautiful way of capturing different periods of her life, and here it's all about her tackling motherhood. It's not a bold reinvention, but not everything needs to be. It's just gently and gracefully continuing everything that makes Laura such a wonderfully evocative presence. Confessionally raw in both sound and presentation. Perfect for putting on your expensive pair of headphones so you can pick up every intricate pick of her guitar and every gorgeous swell of the chamber string arrangements. And just lying there to take in every vulnerable confession of Laura's. It's a sweet and deeply moving record with transcendent appeal regardless of your life's journey. A beautiful experience from the start to the very end. From Doechii, Alligator Bites Never Heal. It's nice being able to speak about this finally, and from the perspective that Doechii has blossomed into the mainstream success in 2025, off the back of the big singles. But there's so much more to her as an artist, effortlessly moving from menacing, vicious one-liners to conscious introspective at the drop of a hat. And it's constantly moving forward and keeping you on your toes as it rapidly moves from track to track. The R&B flavoured boom bap that features gives it a really nice 90s feel, but again, it's got so much variety to keep you constantly invested. This year has proved that she is a star, and that star is only going to keep getting brighter. Great album. Next up, from Rhapsody, Please Don't Cry. Moving from a relative newer name to a veteran in the scene, and also keeping with a level of introspection. Rhapsody's latest sees her be far more vulnerable than she has been on previous records, that leads to a lot of soul-searching around societal issues and her own faith, sexuality, and touching on her own family and those closest to her. She's an eclectic and expressive presence behind the mic, and her pen game has never been better. This kind of neo-soul inflected conscious rap has always been an easy sell to me, but Please Don't Cry is so much more than that. Diverse throughout, thoughtful, and moving through its observations to stick with you. It's another triumph for Rhapsody. Next up, from Nourished by Time, Catching Chickens EP. After 4 listens, I still truly don't know what to make of Nourished by Time, half soaked in a whole lot of 90s pop and rock worship, and I swear I can hear a whole lot of early Blur, Pulp and Suede here, but also able to seamlessly blend a lot of modern and pretty electronic elements too. Marcus Brown's voice could definitely be described as an acquired taste, but there is so much loose charm and energy to him, and every song here feels like its own unique experience that gives you more and more with every spin. Give it a chance, you won't regret it. From Masked Wolf, The Devil Wears Prada, but God Wears Gucci. I mean, with an album title like that, how could I not check this out? Mr. Masked Wolf of Astronaut in the Ocean fame dropped an album last year, and by talking about this album, as of time of writing, and my YouTube searching, I believe I'm the first person talking about it on this platform. And if you're wondering how it sounds exactly like someone whose Spotify bio reads, "Throw me to the wolves, and I'll return leading the pack." Because that's exactly what it is. We've got some lyrical, we've got some miracle, and we have a whole lot of spiritual, with all the Christian worship thrown in you could want. The songs generally focus on the struggle and finding and knowing your own self-worth, and the hustle to get to where you want to be. And every song has at least 1 or 2 lines that will get a laugh out of you. Overall, yeah, it's very, very silly and corny, but ultimately completely harmless. And while I didn't get much from this, feel free to check the recommendations if you're in any way curious how the guy who believes in G-O-D and not T-H-O-T is getting on these days. From Lauren Mayberry, Vicious Creature. The debut solo album from Lauren Mayberry of Church's fame, and it continues the electronic approach for the most part, albeit with a lot more jagged edges to the instrumentation that was found on the last Church's album, Screen Violence. So if you're looking for the rougher side that Church's can do, this will absolutely deliver, but will still leave room for a gentle moment or two, like the absolutely beautiful piano ballad, Oh Mother. Lauren's fiercely combative on a lyrical front, full of stories of self-affirmation, kiss-offs, and personal glories, and it all comes together on an airtight record that shows she can expand out on her own if she wants to, and deliver music that I love by herself. Great work. Up next, from Shawn Mendes, Shawn. Okay, time to finally talk about the new Shawn Mendes album that you all totally remember came out, and I'm really in 2 minds over it. He's diverted to stripped-back guitar-led folk music, and I feel he suits it really well. It's immaculately produced, I'll say that much. But I feel like you could get this sound from so many other places, and by doing this, Shawn has painted himself into a bit of a corner, and that could mean that something as fascinating as Wonder could potentially never happen again. And a lot of these songs feel like fragments and first drafts, fine as they are, but they could have been so much more. I do find him interesting as a performer and a person who's still clearly trying to work things out and working himself out, and so it's also a shame it ends on a down note with a cover of Hallelujah. An all-timer and a classic for sure, but it's also a song that a talent show gives one of its competitors who they don't know what to do with, and Shawn does nothing with it that you couldn't get from so many other versions. I'll always remain interested to check him out regardless, but I really wanted more from him here. Up next, from Michael Kiwaunuka, Small Changes. For those not familiar with Michael's game, if you love yourself some Curtis Mayfield and Bill Withers, or some 60s to 70s era soul, then you are going to absolutely love this. It's a gorgeously produced record, the kind you can just get lost in its comfort. The bass work here is just so goddamn smooth. It's a beautifully moving tapestry of work that's on display here, that can often get labelled as tasteful, which I feel takes away from just how incredible of a singer Kiwaunuka is. As he sings of adapting to a world moving around him, sometimes struggling, but always finding grace despite the difficulties. I can't recommend his majestic work of soul enough. A beautiful record. From Geordie Greep, The New Sound. It is difficult to write about a record like The New Sound, because it is a mood record that you have to commit to. It is incredibly self-indulgent, both in instrumentation and lyrics, as it regularly gives up on trying to balance its avant-garde elements of jazz fusion and progressive rock, and just throws itself wildly into frenetic passages out of nowhere, and without any form of build-up, and not so much doesn't care how much it goes off the rails, it doesn't even care where the train is anymore. But if you can meet it on its level, which I absolutely can, you will have one of the most intense, engaging, and memorable listening experiences of this decade so far. A masterwork where all the self-indulgences previously mentioned pay off, and the ride it takes you on is fully worth it. A new classic for the modern era. From Chief Keef, Almighty So Too. Bangers after bangers after bangers after bangers after bangers. And lastly for 2024, Bluey, Rug Island. Bangers after bangers after bangers after bangers after... Okay, that's 2024 wrapped up. Now for what I've been listening to in 2025. First up, from Franz Ferdinand, The New Fear. Franz Ferdinand have returned with a new album, their first in 7 years. Christ, where on earth does the time go? Anyway, let's not dwell on that and the existential crisis it would bring. We've got brand new Franz Ferdinand. And it's more of the same, really. Which is kind of a disappointment on one hand to see them play it safe, but also it's just really nice to have them back after all this time. Frontman Alex Kapranos' sly and witty observations, vamping over their familiar yet distinctive blend of glam rock and new wave, and it all canters at such a rapid pace that I don't really mind, because there are some genuine moments of excellence still here that makes it an easy recommendation, and maybe I can go back to waiting in vain for another collab album with Sparks. Next up, from FKA Twigs, Eusexua. The latest from FKA Twigs here, showcasing her own brand of electronic experimentation that very much continues here, and it wastes no time in being straight with you. This is a sexually charged and incredibly horny record, in a way that only FKA Twigs can do. Its atmospherics are truly otherworldly, creating trippy and organic textures that can also feel cold. It's a grimy and thoroughly spellbinding listen that feels like it's constantly on the edge of breaking the vibe and mask it's trying to hide behind, with all its eerie vocal gymnastics and effects. And while I prefer Capri Suns more than this because that felt a bit more accessible and inviting, that should not take away just how much of an absorbing listen this is. Great album. From Mac Miller, Balloonerism. The second posthumous album from Mac Miller. I've always struggled with posthumous albums regardless of the artist. I think I've just been burnt out on the feeling it's only ever been done for milking the fan base and not about honouring what the artist would have wanted to release if they were still with us. Looking at you and all the posthumous Juice WRLD albums into scope. Which is why this was a wonderful surprise that turned into a gift. You can immediately tell the level of love that went into this. Getting people he collaborated with on board, and it really is a labour of love, with every song giving a poignant, distinct, and emotional look into what made him connect with so many. Every song with multiple lines that can cut and hit deep, while keeping the vibes immaculate throughout, and leaving you with a bittersweet feeling. I want more, but hey, don't we all? Life is like that sometimes. Hope you're at peace wherever you are, Mac. From Alessia, Cara, Love and Hyperbole. This will go down as one of those pleasant surprises you get when you check in on an artist or band you haven't heard from in years. So you do a quick check for them out of the blue, and yeah, here we have a new Alessia Cara album, her first in 4 years, and it's the sound of a woman who doesn't have a thing to prove anymore. The sound of a woman with several songs that will pay her royalties for the rest of her career, so it makes an album lovingly caught between a mix of 90s and 2000s neo-soul and adult contemporary. With some further dabbles into the pop and rock era of the 90s, Get To You, for example, feels like something Alanis Morissette might have come out with at the time. And Dead Man gives us a great offering of big band jazz. And Alessia is experienced enough to be understated when needed to truly get every last drop of beauty out of every song here. And with it, every song brings a new surprise. It's a gift that keeps on giving from somewhere I did not expect. Isn't it wonderful when that happens? From Jesse Wells, Middle. If you've been around the music scenes on TikTok, you might have heard of Jesse Wells, famous for his one-man show performances out in the country, just him and a guitar. And if you have, you might have heard of War Isn't Murder and Walmart. And this new album takes him away from that approach for the most part, and moves into a folk and country lane with a bit of rock thrown in for good measure. And as someone who's listened to the previous albums without a band behind him, this was an excellent direction to take, as it never overpowers Wells and remains understated precisely when it needs, as the storytelling remains the sole focus and his biggest strength. His lyrics never seek to talk down to you, but to talk to you on the level, invite you into the conversation to make you feel like you're part of life's everyday struggles. And yes, you will no doubt hear a lot of Bob Dylan comparisons, but here, Wells has proven he can blaze a trail that's truly his own. Next up, from Lady Gaga, Mayhem. The latest from Lady Gaga sees her very much returning to the type of sound that made her famous and a household name to begin with. A lot of the electro-pop sound is back, but with plenty of harsher elements and jagged touches as well. It also sees her working in a lot of new disco, which I definitely liked. I kind of found it hit and miss as an overall project, but with way more hits. So I'd say it's a success overall, and a welcome return to what made her connect with so many. Recommended. Up next, from Teddy Swims, I've Tried Everything But Therapy, Part 2. So I checked out this latest release from Teddy Swims, just to see if I could find anything to love outside of the big singles, which I've enjoyed to a various degree. And honestly, I didn't really get a lot from this. It's perfectly fine. If you like the modern contemporary blue-eyed soul type sound that's on vogue right now, you'll get a lot out of it more than I did. I just thought it was okay. I definitely wanted more considering just how big Lose Control still is. From Tate Mcrae, So Close to What? So it looks like Tate Mcrae has broken through and is going to be sticking around for a while. I've found her inconsistent and not really my thing when I first heard her, But here, I think she's really pulled it off. Musically, she's more adventurous than ever. She's trying a lot of different things while trying to revive that kind of edgier electro-leaning angle that Britney and Christina were doing in the 2000s. But she's coming across as far more confident in her growth and development. And as a result, I think it's her best album to date. Worth a listen. Up next, from Rebecca Black, Salvation. Rebecca Black's latest album may be short, but in the 21 minutes it gives you, you get a watertight list of 7 songs showcasing her love for heavily percussive electropop and the sound of someone who definitely had a very brat summer last year. But it's way more than just popular hyperpop trend chasing. It's a brand that's all her own. The hooks are strong, the writing hits hard, and none of these would seem out of place whatever club you hear them in. And she's going on tour with Katy Perry now, in a time where people are going to get more from seeing her as a support act than the main one. And I'm already looking forward to what's next. From Jason Isbell, Foxes in the Snow. I was absolutely dreading this album because I'm a huge fan of Jason's, but following the divorce from fellow songwriter Amanda Shires, I just knew that I was going to be in for a tough listen. Tough in a way that Jason's most striking and emotionally resonant songs are. And now said divorce paints all that he has written before in such a different context. And I got exactly what I thought I'd get and more. This is a difficult album. From the off, you are getting a completely unfiltered listen. Just Jason and his guitar. There is nothing to distract you from what you hear. It is vulnerable, messy, and not flattering in the slightest to him, tackling his demons and masculinity in the most confessional he has ever been. Frequently heartbreaking in ways you won't see coming, but still able to get a laugh from you with his signature razor-sharp wit or turn of phrase. One of the year's most worthwhile and important listens. Just be ready for it to challenge you. But speaking of things I could not have possibly been ready for, from Ethel Cain, Perverts. Ethel Cain delivers a harrowing nightmare descending into drone and noise, and an auditory experience pulled straight from the kind of horror movie that seeks to let you soak in its unsettling atmosphere. Haunting discomfort is its muse, and it will drag you kicking and screaming for the length of a movie itself. And while it does find sparse pockets of light, it is a dystopian work of art that everyone should experience once in their life. Something to be taken in with a quality set of headphones in a dark room, so you can get the full experience that it demands. An avant-garde masterpiece of sound design that is unlike anything you have ever experienced in your life, and you owe it to yourself to be challenged by it. Up next, from Achika Alba, Luminescent Creatures. Okay, time for something much less nightmarish, and this was definitely a welcome change of pace. A stunningly serene and hypnotic fantasy of a record, combining Ichiko's strength for soundscapes that are lush and organic and full of atmospheric beauty, but are also able to pick up a sense of ethereal motion throughout its runtime. And I really love all the orchestral touches that give it a uniquely meditative quality. It's kind of one note throughout, but if you can get over that, you will have a magical time with this one. Highly recommended. Okay, next up, from The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. Despite an absolute mess of a release, Abel Tesfaye finally delivers what he claims will be the last album under the identity of The Weeknd. And with every fibre of his being here, you really do sense he is just tired of this persona that he has created. His delivery is doing a lot of acting, constantly sounding like it's on the verge of desperation and longing, and the vast majority of material here follows suit. I love how for a lot of the album, songs seemingly blend into one another, and that makes this album a journey. It's way too long and exhausting of a journey, but it's one where I feel like there's no way back from this point. You're not going to see a psych, just kidding, in a year or so. And feel free to not make me look like a fool otherwise, Abel. It's self-indulgent in a compelling way that only The Weeknd can truly be. Everything feels like it's been left on the floor, and for consistency's sake, I do not think it's the strongest Weeknd album to end off with, but I do think it has some of the strongest songs of his career. Who knows what's coming next, but I'm sure we'll all see before long. From Drake, Some Sexy Songs for You. God, that's a stupid album title. So with the large elephant in the room being the aftermath of the infamous rap beef, Drake released an album 5 days after Kendrick played the biggest show on turf. And besides a few passing references, he seeks to carry on as if nothing ever happened. Granted, I have no idea how you even begin to continue a music career after everything that's just happened. Personally, if I was the subject of a song like Meet the Grahams, I'd change name, go off the grid, and go work on a remote oil rig with no reception, so there's no risk of ever hearing Not Like Us ever again. But here we are. And sound-wise, I was initially taken back and pleasantly surprised. It's definitely heavily leaning into what he did for Take Care, my personal favourite Drake album. Unfortunately, and sorry for this fact, that was 14 years ago, and we've had an avalanche of bloated releases since then and a whole lot of crap. And Drake sounds like he is especially feeling the weight of the years, and you can tell. He just sounds exhausted throughout, and as Drake albums tend to do, it drags and is way too damn long. And before you know it, it just becomes another one. It's another Drake album to add to the pile, one that time will either show as indistinguishable from the others, or that Response album that really wasn't much of a response at all. There's a few decent songs here for me, but anyone besides the die-hard stans, or anyone else addicted to the drama of the beef, they can safely skip this one. Up next, from Selena Gomez and Benny Blanco, I Said I Love You First. I was really excited about the prospect of this record, an actual couple making music together, inviting us into their world, be it confessional, revealing, or providing us way too much information. I had hoped this would become interesting at the very least, and I came away from it not really knowing what to think, as I got a mess of genres on kind of a downbeat record, very down-tempo ambient pop, cross between synth and light disco elements, and Selena attempting to have a Brat Summer moment on Bluest Flame. Maybe it's because I wanted something else, but it all sort of blends together into a bit of a mess of anxiety-ridden confessions over very minimalist and delicate lo-fi instrumentation, where it sounds like neither Selena or Benny are getting the best out of each other, and it all just drifts towards a conclusion. Definitely one for the diehards. I didn't get much of anything from this. Sorry. From Will Smith, based on a true story. I never expected another Will Smith record. I expected a few songs here and there over random periods of time, but here we are, 20 years after Lost and Found, and as you might expect, it's combative, it's defensive, it's angry in spots, a whole lot of deflecting and self-empowerment motivational material, and it's not a pretty album, because a whole lot of it doesn't make Will look good. And if you've seen the reviews already, yeah, that's not pretty either. But I don't know, there's something oddly compelling about it all. There's a lot of gospel here which I really enjoyed, and acts as a nice counterpart to everything. So with all that, you're absolutely gonna get a mixed bag, and a bit of a mess, but I can't say I was bored, though the nostalgia in me wishes there was a whole lot more Jazzy Jeff here. Check the recommendations if you're in any way curious. From Japanese Breakfast, for melancholy brunettes and sad women. Didn't love this as much as Jubilee or Soft Sounds from Another Planet. It just kind of pleasantly drifted in and out of my consciousness after several listens, coasting by on immaculate vibes that Michelle Zorner and company can bring. It receives this video's "This Album Will Grow On Me" award, because I'll probably like it more on repeated listens. But for now, you can rest assured that it's relatively business as usual for one of indie pop's best kept secrets. Recommended. From Mumford & Sons, Rushmere.
We are young. There's a fire in our soul. We go big or go home together.
Something just isn't quite right here, is it? Maybe it's this new guitarist of theirs. It's just not the same. Oh well, it happens. Okay, jokes aside, if you want to hear a band desperate to try and recreate the sound that made the world fall in love with them in the first place, and you can avoid the memes and everything else, it is a Mumford & Sons album, where half the songs all sound the same. Go nuts. And lastly, from Kyle Gordon, Kyle Gordon is wonderful. If you've spent any time on social media in various music scenes, you've likely heard of Kyle Gordon and his parody songs. For those who don't know him, as a comedy musician, he's more the type to directly replicate a genre of music or type of song, rather than take a popular song and outright mock it. The whole album plays like a top 10 countdown, with him using 20 to 30 second intro segments to introduce made-up artists who are going to be singing the styles he is doing. And God is he good at replicating the sounds of certain eras, everything from 80s synth pop, nu metal, 2000s era UK garage, the list goes on. And he's constantly towing the line between taking the piss and earnestly trying to pay tribute in a fun way to the most ridiculous elements of each genre, which can lead to a whole lot of uncanny valley type moments, but it feels like it's the type of parody music that for once doesn't feel like it's going to age terribly. Thinking of you, Bart Baker, for the first time in years? Yeesh. Definitely recommended if you're in need of a laugh, even if comedy is subjective. I really hope you get something out of this. And that covers everything I've listened to. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, it would be a wonderful help to the channel. Leave comments about anything you'd like to below, because that helps the algorithm. And lastly, if you'd like to help out the channel, my Patreon link is below and it's just $1 a month if you want to support me further moving forward. Thank you so much again for watching. I'll see you next time.